We're going to keep things going. I get to be on stage with you guys for a little bit for this next fireside chat that we've got going on. And I've got Steve Blau with me, who is with Infios. You may know him from Mercury Gate previously. Steve, thank you for being here. We're going to talk a little bit about agentic AI today and implementation across the space. We've heard from some folks here this morning that implementation processes are one of those things that hamper a lot of AI adoption, especially in freight tech. So we'll talk a little bit about how the agentic component of that helps speed that up. But first things first, talk to me a little bit about Infios and what you guys are doing now, specifically in the AI space.
Yeah, so I'm with Infios. Used to be with Mercury Gate. We got bought by Corber about 9 months ago now, and rebranded into a supply chain software called Infios. Right now, from an agentic AI perspective, we're looking at things across the suite and trying to bring in same kind of things that are going on, and you've seen with a lot of the manual things that are going on in freight or in order management with vendors and suppliers, trying to bring it across the entire suite. So we're looking at like where's my order? Think of that kind of a concept, right? It could be in the order management system. It might be in the WMS, getting ready to be picked, or it might be in the TMS, ready to ship or actually moving. So when a customer comes in, we want them to be able to interact naturally with the system, whether it's through text, email, phone call, doesn't matter, and say, hey, where's order 1, 2, 3, 4? Now, based on where it is, we can take action. So agentic AI, right, can actually look at it and say, well, this order is supposed to have been picked at whatever, and now it's running late. So it'll actually then prompt to the customer and say, hey, do you want to do something? This order isn't picked yet. It's due tomorrow. Do you want to expedite transportation? Do you want to, whatever that might be, whatever those recommendations might be. So agentic AI is reasoning and looking at past conversations and history to decide what's the best action or recommendations to give to a customer or to whoever is using that product. That makes sense.
Absolutely. And so we see a lot of providers that are here in the space. We've got a handful of them out that are considered sponsors of this event, and folks who are here from businesses of all sizes doing all types of things. And it raises the question why freight tech specifically has such a good runway and potential for agentic AI use. Is it because we work in a system that is old in implementation, or is it just that we have so many processes that freight's maybe not predictable, but it's repeatable in process a lot of the times?
Yeah, I think one of the big aspects is because of the supply chain is so varied with people, right? In other words, it's not one company. I've got vendors, I've got customers, I've got shippers, I've got logistics guys, brokers maybe freight brokers, international, you get the idea. It's a plethora of customers or of users, and they're all spread across different platforms. So I think one of the real advantages of freight AI and freight is allow people to naturally interface and communicate between the varied parties, right? So instead of, and I don't know about you, but I'm kind of apped out, right? I've got apps for apps, and I don't know, and everybody wants me to use this app, and we're trying to get out of that now. It's much better if I could do natural ways of communicating. Text, I think text is great. Phone calls, although younger generations don't want phone calls, right? But us old guys still like them. So, anyways, but getting communication to people in a way that makes sense instead of forcing them into, when I think of Mercury Gate, right? We had supplier portals, customer portals, carrier portals, you name it, and it's just too much. And what that means from a development perspective is I don't have to build those things anymore, right? I've got natural ways of communicating. And because we're intuitively hooked to the database, we help limit hallucinations and all the type of things that go on. So, and there's another aspect too that's kind of interesting when I look at what's going on with AI on the tech side. And it's understanding, you talk about the old code or the old stuff, right? It's understanding stored procedures or documenting those type of things. It's always been a bugaboo, right? Getting technology people to document things well. Well, guess what? There's tools out there now that'll go read stored procedures and give you decision trees and all those type of things without having to go through and do it in minutes or hours instead of days or weeks. So all that stuff's helping on the back end to document what's going on and making it easier to change things.
When I think about use cases for AI, and you mentioned, you guys liking phone calls, I'll admit I'm part of the Gen Z club. I pick up the phone. I like calling people. I don't like slacking my coworker. Like I'll pick up the phone and I'll call you. Probably an outlier in that
Okay,
case.
there you go.
But I think at the end of the day, we're all looking for the path of least resistance, especially in a time where we are so incredibly pressed for what we're trying to do and to make these businesses successful. And agentic AI is one of those things that helps you seek out the path of least resistance that you might not even know exists. And by being able to implement that and bring it in, you're almost looking to solve a problem sometimes that you didn't even know existed in the first place before you even get to it. Talk to me a little bit about that. And in the freight space, like I mentioned, the processes are repeatable, but they're not necessarily predictable for what problem goes wrong. And again, you have a problem sometimes that you don't even know about. How does agentic AI factor into that and help you deliver, if it's the company, if it's an individual user, deliver to that path of least resistance?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like I was at a Gartner conference recently, and Dwight Klapik said he's been in the industry for 30 years. Software is revolutionized in 30 years. Implementation of software hasn't changed in 30 years. So it's long cycles, costly cycles, kind of to your point. I mean, it brings out all these difficult things. And when you think, I mean, it's funny because we talk about workflows, right? Well, there's no workflow. There's work streams that weave in and out with different users, different roles. And being able to implement that quickly is a difficult task and is often, more than the software costs, right? Or at least long. So what agentic AI is doing, at least for us, is opening up that door as maybe a co-pilot for our services folks to quickly board clients and bring in software by just natural language kind of description of what they need. So I need this, 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 and this. Now, your software has to be able to be configured. I always said, Mercury Gate was great. We had a totally configurable software. The bad thing about Mercury Gate was it was a totally configurable software, right? So you could do anything. So now how do you do that? Well, with agentic AI, we can now set those configs, rule sets, all that type of stuff can be, I'll say, automatically created into the database. And now it's sort of that 80-20 rule. I don't have to go, redo everything. The system is all configured. And even more importantly, as systems change and things change, you can actually now go in and describe what you want to change, and it'll make that and configure the system and even tell you if it's going to have collisions in this workflow or with this role or that type of thing.
So we've got about 4 minutes here, and I want to bring it back to the small, medium business size conversation. We heard Peter Rentschler earlier talking about how software implementation, it's expensive from a monetary standpoint and from a personnel standpoint. And that really almost gives enterprise companies the upper hand, and it leaves the small guys behind, frankly, when it comes to implementation. If you're a brokerage that has 8 employees and you're running just razor tight margins, you're not going to want to spend money on finding AI automated solutions or even tech solutions in general. It puts you at a strategic disadvantage. But AI can help, agentic AI specifically can help level that playing field.
Absolutely.
Can you explain a little bit how that works?
Sure. So we talked about being able to naturally describe stuff. Well, think about it. If now we're at the point where I don't even need services people or minimal work from services people, and a small business can describe their workflows or what they need, the system can be set up automatically for them. And it's an interesting thing because you often think of small businesses as being simpler than large businesses. I actually think it's the opposite. I mean, most small businesses will do anything they can do to get money. They have to. They got to make salary. You guys, maybe some of you are entrepreneurs and you guys know you got to make payroll. You got to do things, right? So, they'll do almost anything they have to do. So there's this interesting thing or dynamic of being able to describe that now and have the system set up to do that for them instead of having to wait. So at Infios, we're all about intelligent execution, as we call it. And what that means is we're going to let these small, medium businesses get enterprise level software into their fold without having to pay, 6 figures to implement it, kind of thing.
So the other part about that helps is shortening the time and the runway from an idea to go to launch. Talk a little bit about that and where agentic AI really helps shorten that timeline.
Yeah, so again, I think of, like I mentioned before, with the programmers being able to now use tools to document or find out what's going on in the software, right? Same thing goes on with businesses, being able to understand. You can use AI to even understand what your business is doing to then feed that into implementing systems. So, it's the same kind of setup process, really.
So we've heard from a bunch of different people here that are doing a bunch of different things with AI. We've heard some LLM stuff. We've heard some stuff about track and trace. We know Genlogs folks do kind of this fraud component they have to their technology too. What is the biggest opportunity in your mind from a freight tech view of things, because this is still supply chain AI? What is the biggest opportunity in this space that you think has the chance to really take off with the help of AI?
Well, functionality aside, I mean, all those things are valid points. I think the big point is, and I think Jet said it earlier, with all the disruptions causing the need for people to be more efficient and effective, right? And these tools, I don't think they're necessarily replace people per se. I mean, they will, but more in the light of I don't want to go hire more people to grow my business kind of concept. That's what I hear from our customers. Like, look, we need to grow. When I started in the business 20 years ago, brokers were 20% margins. They're not 20% margins anymore. And they're all struggling to grow with saying, look, I can't go add 20 more people to bring in these customers. So in fact, if they can't get AI, they may lose, employees, let alone, use AI to replace employees. I don't know that that's really going to happen. I think they'll use it more for growth. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the aspect that's kind of interesting here. Let's go grow the business, keep our EBITDA and all that stuff in line, or improve it as we get more revenue in.
Well, Steve, thank you for joining us for the Fireside Chat today. Thank you for being here as part of our Supply Chain AI Summit. And Steve will be back up for our panel here in just a few seconds.
Thanks.